Hey guys, what is up? It's Philbo, and we're going to be talking a little bit about some of the things I've been doing to prepare for a speed run coming up in a few days. And the reason I wanted to talk about it is because many of the things we're doing can be directly applied to just running your alts through acts 1 through 10 very quickly. There's many benefits to having alts in this game. You get extra gold, more shots at rune stones, and then there's a few other benefits as well. So it's good to have. I don't think you need them to enjoy yourself. However, they do give a slight boost to your main. So we're going to be talking a little bit about gear, skills, consumables, and then some other things you should consider when running your alts through all the acts. Okay, let's jump right in. All right, guys, so we're going to get started off with the skill setup. And the skill setup that I'm going with is Whirlwind, and we're going to be channeling to Lightning Chain. So I'm using Lightning Chain. It does a lot of damage. It chains to, at the legendary level, it chains to 7 mobs. So it's hitting a lot of mobs. And it allows me to continue moving while I'm downing mobs, which is very important for getting through quickly. Now, that being said, I don't think that Lightning Chain would be a good option if it weren't at the legendary level. The chain count is significantly lower at lower levels. It doesn't do near as much damage amplification at lower levels. I would avoid it. I think what most people would go for is probably Toxic Flame, because Toxic Flame does not require a whole lot of investment. You can continue doing lots of damage to mobs on the run. So you cast, mobs start dying, and they eventually die without you having to cast multiple times. So very, very little downtime. Another ability that I think people will probably run, not necessarily for speed runs, but maybe just for getting through the acts quickly, could be Piercing Arrow if they're wanting to run a bow build. So those are some options. I'm going with this because I enjoy Lightning Chain. My main is a self-cast Lightning Chain, so I'll be able to use this later on with this character and use a lot of the hand-me-downs from my other characters. So it just kind of works out. And I'm also going to be using 2 movement abilities. So roll and leap attack attached to disarm. So whenever you are using your movement skills, make sure you attach it to disarm to lower the cooldown recovery on those abilities so that you're able to traverse the maps much quicker. So that's important. So if you're looking at the map, you can move through very quickly by having multiple movement skills. So definitely, if you can, use 2. Bow builds don't get to use 2. They're not, you can't use leap attack, you can't use shield charge. None of the other additional attacks that we have currently available to us can be used when you have a bow equipped. So you definitely want to keep that in mind when you're considering which skill you want to run with. We're also going to be using Seal of Condensed Elements, but honestly, any seal will do that buffs your damage. And then if you have a defensive seal, do use that. I had element resist handy, so that's what I'll be running with. And then definitely want to have an attack enhance ability and potentially even a defense enhance. And then finally, I'm running with Shout of Provocation because Shout of Provocation adds damage and armor amplification and has pretty good uptime. So right now I'm buffing it on hit so that I don't really have to actively maintain it. And I'm using some link runes to get the cooldown lowered and then also higher uptime. So that's basically my setup. Just make sure you're going with a skill that does a lot of damage and limits your downtime when you're moving across the maps downing mobs. You don't want an ability that you have to stand in one place doing a lot of damage before mobs die. So that's the skill setup. Let's go ahead and move on. Okay, now that we've talked about skills, Let's go ahead and look at some of the gear considerations you should have. Oh, there's a lot of really great uniques that will help you mow through content. Some of them are going to be Gale Claw. This one's very, very useful. You can equip it at level 10 and it gives you high movement speed. This isn't even a really good pair. You can get one up to 40%. So a lot of people use Gale Claw to move quickly. And then also another really big piece is Overlapping Shadow. This one gives you more movement skill uses and it lowers the cooldown on those even more. So like I said earlier, I'm using leap and roll. I'll be able to use those more frequently. That helps me move through the maps quicker, lowering my clear time. And if you're looking at my character right now, you'll see that I have all uniques on at this point. The point I'm trying to make here is there are so many uniques that you can find while you're mapping right now on your main. And even if you're just looking at the auction house, a lot of these are cheap. Like the Overlapping Shadow is very cheap. You can find Gale Claws very low. And there's other items out there that are just going to help you go through the content very quickly. What I would suggest you do is go to the compendium, hit the item compendium here, and look through some of the uniques that you have available, because I have about 15 to 20 uniques that I will be utilizing throughout the course of my speed run. Now, I have everything mapped out. So whenever there's a new level that I hit where there's an item that I need to equip, I'll know to equip it. You probably don't need to get that deep if you're just looking to get your alts through quickly. I would just pick up a few uniques here and there to help you get through the content a little bit quicker. And then finally, I'm going to go look at my storage real quick, because one thing you can do to get some really great gear is when you're mapping, you can pick up tier 21 gear on your main while you're doing chaos dungeons, which only requires level 46 for helmets, shoulders, hands, and boots, and level 49 for a chest piece. But you can roll some really high tiers. So if you're looking at the item level here, this one's 83. You could potentially get item level 90 plus on these tier 21 pieces of gear. And so whenever you hit these levels, you'll be able to get a massive boost to your power to help you get through the content quicker. So those are some things you want to think about for gearing. Okay, we're going to move on and talk about consumables. What I've been doing is I've been saving some of my materials for the speed run. One thing that is going to be very important are going to be movement speed elixirs, but there's lots of elixirs that you're going to want to pick up to support the run in addition to these, but these are probably the most important to look at. I'm also going to be picking up a bunch of high damage elixirs so that when I come across boss fights, I can pop these to get the bosses down quicker. Okay, so I'm picking those up. There are also specific boss fights that I know freeze, burn, and also stun. So I've picked up some immunity elixirs. Like, for example, the Act 7 final boss hits you with a burn that ticks like a mother. So using the fire status effect elixir on that boss almost guarantees that you down him with little to no issues. So I want these for that boss specifically. And then there are other bosses that, if you can keep them from stunning you, are just plain simple. So I have those. I also have some chaos resist elixirs. The serpents fight, I'll probably want some chaos elixirs. And I also have additional damage elixirs. I'm going to be using these while I'm going through the axe just to down mobs quicker. And then finally, some major healing potions. But one other thing you'll notice is that I've got my my healing potion or my HP potions and my mana potions stocked up so that as soon as I start running, I'm going to throw these into my bag and I'm not going to have to worry about buying these along the way. This should be, I think, enough to last me my entire run. So that's something. I've done the same thing with return scrolls. I have 150 here. I might buy a few more, but I don't want to have to waste time buying return scrolls on my speed run. If you're not doing a speed run, probably don't need to do all this. This is just some of the things I've been doing to cut time down on the speed run. Okay, we're going to talk about some other considerations you should have. One of the biggest issues that we face whenever we're running through the campaign is that we are severely under leveled whenever we hit some of the later acts. So we have to figure out how to boost our XP. So there's a few easy things we can do to get some extra XP. There is an increased kill XP rune that you can pick up. I'm going to be running this. I'm considering moving this up to rare. That will give me an extra 6% experience. There is also guild buffs. So as soon as you hit level 20, you can join a guild. You probably want to coordinate with your guild or maybe even have a guild of your own that you can run buffs on. And some of the buffs that I will have running for me in my guild are going to be, we're going to have this increased damage buff running. So I'll have that running for the speed run. And then I'm also going to have the kill experience increase. This is at a high level, it's a really big buff to experience. So I would coordinate and maybe do my running if you're just running your alts. If your guild has a specific time that they run buffs, and if they run the experience buffs, I would probably try to run at that time. It just makes sense, right? So I'll be doing that. I'll have those two running. And then also what you can do is you can have some of your gear with experience on it. So some of that gear that I talked about, that tier 21 gear earlier, I've rolled experience on it. So this piece right here has 10% kill experience. Some of my other pieces have some as well. So make sure you're getting additional experience. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself way under level and it's going to be hard to go through. And I think it's the last 2, maybe 3 acts. That's when you start having issues. So we can avoid those issues by keeping ourselves leveled up a little bit more than we did originally. So that's a consideration that we should have. Some other things that I'll be doing, if we look in our mastery here, the first 5 enchanting masteries happen very, very quickly. So I'm probably going to just set some enchanting on auto while I go take a break and probably get 5 points. So that way I can get 5 points into the flat damage here. Flat damage is big for lightning chain. So I'm going to be doing that. Also, if we look in our item compendium and check out our collection effect, there are these collection effects we can get. So if we look at rune growth, any level 30 rune that we have in our collection, so stored in our compendium here, is going to get us extra HP. Any 6 slot we have is going to get us stats, and then any legendary rune we have is going to get us additional damage. So I'm going to be taking all of my 6 slots, my level 30s, and my legendary runes from my main, and I'm just going to store them in the rune compendium while I'm doing my speed run. Anyway, that's for the most part everything that I've done to prep for the speed run. If there's something you thought about that you think could be incorporated into the speed run, I would love to hear about it. Also, if something was unclear, just drop a question and I'll get back to you. But if the videos helped you out in any way, I would appreciate it if you hit the like button and also the subscribe button. But it's time to get back to the grind. So I'm going to catch you guys later.